Hey folks, it's Arlyeon.
And Lovi.
And I'm Ivy. I was previously the head editor, and so you get to meet me, and I'm stepping down from head editor.
And I'm Shrimp. I'm not dead. I've been gone for 4 or 5 months, but I'm not dead.
No, we totally just ended Shrimp's crime spree prematurely because I'm off to go and sell organs legally on the black market. See you guys. It didn't work out. He ran out of hobos to farm up. So he's back as head editor.
Yeah, and I was gonna just take Arlion's organs, but then he said, "Hey, you can do this instead."
Also, I'm pretty sure you don't want my organs. I take such bad care of myself that they're probably just useless.
Arlene is undead confirmed.
Thanks. Anyways, so it's been a long while since we've last had a channel update, and I think at this juncture it's long overdue. Recently, we've gotten a lot of feedback from you folks, especially with the Dwarf Fortress having provided an invaluable opportunity of bringing in a larger crowd of people to find out what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So first off, to the complaints about the hums in the video, I hear you there. That was a broken furnace. That was a huge pain in the butt to me, Lovi, and our editing team in general, and we actually had no way of turning it off until recently, since the apartment we're in doesn't belong to us, and our hands were tied in dealing with it. Whilst we do have the furnace shut off now, I am actually a little bit worried about when winter rolls around again. That should help with audio for videos going forward. For the videos in the backlog, we're currently in the process of establishing a stable core team, as well as just figuring out how to get rid of the last bits of hums in a few videos coming up. But aside from that, that shouldn't be an issue anymore. If this has impeded you folks from enjoying the videos, though, that was far from the intent.
So I'm going to personally take responsibility here for a lot of the flack that we got on the Dwarf Fortress stuff. When I took over as head editor, I talked with Arlyeon, and we kind of took on a more laissez-faire approach with the edit or with the interviews in particular, and just kept them very natural as how they'd happened. And you guys were very much against that. I don't think we have any more interviews coming out that are like that. We've listened to you guys and are buckling down really heavily on that and are going over them a lot more, cleaning them up a lot more, getting rid of a lot of stuff that's not necessarily interesting or relevant to the developer or the interview in and of itself. So I'm sorry for that personally, and I hope you guys find it in yourself to be able to forgive me for it and, not put that on the rest of the team, because that is wholeheartedly on me.
Arlion can take a bit of the blame there. I'm sure it was his fault too.
Wow. I mean, the coughing was sort of my fault, but then again, my poor health is always the thing. And as much as someone's like, you can just hit the turn off audio button while you're coughing, it's like, yeah, well, I'm keeling over dying. Let me just reach over and...
Also, a bunch of other audio mishaps that can happen when you decide to mute your mic and then turn it back on.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, so I'm currently using a new interface. Nice shout out here to Sky from the Discord community, who has, over the course of a few months and tossing money at me on Twitch, has allowed me to purchase a new one. So I'm not using the super broken interface anymore. That was my only option. Because that, yeah, whenever I turned off or fussed with the interface before, it led to a lot of issues that were huge problems for the editing team to deal with. Third on the list, I still very much enjoy interviewing devs and getting tidbits about the past, current, and future games. Is just educational. And, I have a vested interest as a gamer and having played through a bunch of these games and, for the most part, enjoyed them. But it's also tremendously difficult to schedule. Whilst I managed to do so with relatively little interruption for close to a year, that was likely a fluke that will be difficult to replicate, especially with as large as we currently are. Which is why we've begun to dabble into other bits of indie content. You've seen the slices of gameplay with, for the most part, they have commentary, though there's a few that are more gameplay oriented, and they all are going to have final thoughts mixed in going forward, and they're meant to be sort of a bit of a cross between the older review format, which we're not doing anymore because it's so hard on the editors, and just gameplay thing. They're meant to sort of hybridize those both, because I did enjoy doing the reviews, but especially because of how invested I get in the games, and because some of the games after I've gone through, I've then reached out to some of the developers to go and be like, oh, hey, this is broken or this doesn't work, and have actually worked with some of them to go and bug test and the like. And at that juncture, I don't think it's really appropriate for me to make a formalized set of reviews anymore because I've then become involved in the process for the game. Which is why more of the informal approach there. There is going to be a few more podcasts coming along too, just until I can sit down and get a hold of more developers. You're going to be seeing our content varying up a bit more. Also, if you folks who follow my Twitter, Discord, or Twitch, you may know I'm like a huge tabletop nerd, and there is actually a project related to that hobby in the works. With all that said, though, I would like to hear more feedback from you folks about what does and doesn't work for you guys for the content we're doing, so I can better tailor these in the future.
Also going to point in there, things that you notice in edits as well, feel free to let us know. That's been really helpful and really affected the way that we've been approaching this content and how we shape it to better suit what you guys are looking for here.
Yeah, literally, we like went research happy to try and figure out how to solve some of these things before also just spending more money I did not have to go and do the interface thing. Again, thanks Sky for helping fund that. Also, that if you folks have a game you'd like me to play or a developer you'd want me to reach out to, let me know. I do have a rather obsessive habit of trying to play through the games I cover before posting a video for them or interviewing a dev, so the two things often go hand in hand. And, lastly, just, hey Shrimp, I believe you had some questions for me, so feel free to take it away.
You said that you were pretty much out of interviews. Like, how rare are they gonna be exactly?
So to give you some perspective on this, some of the interviews some of them were able to be scheduled relatively quickly within 3 to 4 weeks of the developer actually getting back to us. Some of them were even willing to just sit down and do something within a week or two, but other ones had actually been as long as needing to wait 4 to 5 months. So the answer to that question is a bit nebulous. I might get lucky and get a chain of developer interviews again, but it's not something I can necessarily guarantee. And also because we are a smaller team of editors who also have a variety of things that we need to be working on with the Versus, the podcasts, and also the tabletop project, which is underway and which is requiring 2 people to work on it. I can't necessarily promise that we'll be able to. We will definitely, I don't think, be able to work on more interviews than we currently were. So at most, you would see one in a given week, unless something awesome happens. But they should show up. It's just not going to be like the every week thing. It might be really spaced out.
Okay, well, if you can't like find one every week, then can you just like fill in the space with some Kickstarter devs? I'd imagine they're pretty desperate if their game's like currently on the campaign.
So the thing with Kickstarter and early access devs is I've always felt a certain need to be careful about those because there have been a lot of instances of players being bitten by Kickstarter and early access projects. I love to support devs starting up. A very big theme for this channel is actually discovery of indie things. But I personally have been bitten by a few things. I can imagine there's probably people in the audience who supported things like Mighty Number 9 who have been bitten by things. And in choosing to cover those, I also feel it's sort of supporting them, and I don't necessarily want to be responsible for turning some of my audience towards a project that bites them in the ass. That is something that I would feel personally responsible for. And so it's something I'd like to avoid. There are some projects that are early access that I have focused on. Hanako was interesting, fun, and I actually got to get a hold of the dev and talk to them about their plans for that, so that's a thing. I'm definitely not contrary to it, but it also depends on if the developer wants to reach out or contact us. For instance, the Dark Devotion devs were incredibly friendly and helpful towards reaching out to us. And what they had to like, there was actually something to show there. There was content for us to go through and try out and test, and to watch them go through the game based on some of the stuff that we commented on and fix it. And that was, I think, a very promising habit on their part, and part of why I was so willing to go and work with them in regards to that. But inversely, we've actually dealt you were actually around in the group we were doing this, but we reached out to a developer who I'm not going to name, and they did not work with us in what I would consider a professional manner. They literally tied up our schedule for interviews for close to a couple months, if not past the 2-month mark, of setting appointments and then canceling them either at the last minute or after the fact. And it was just an altogether unprofessional and unpleasant thing. And they were a larger developer, and there's been a few instances of us being burned by people who were both smaller and larger. And so it's a thing that I'm hesitant in supporting for something unfinished. There hasn't been a good track record there. Oh, also, 2 other points here. A, Kickstarter projects have very small time limits on things, which are sometimes very hard to fit into when you've scheduled interviews. It means we have to reschedule what's being edited in what order, and sometimes means doing a disservice to someone who's already been working with us to schedule something. Covering Kickstarters and some early access stuff puts you on a time limit for some of them because they want you to release stuff within a certain time frame.
I see. Well, this last one is a bit more of a question from the audience here, but I know that shrimp guy that used to be on their interviews, he's dead, I think. But what about your other co-host, Lovi? I haven't seen her in a while in interviews or...
Well, you see, I am secretly an undead vampire, and I need to sleep during all the times that Ali is awake.
Oh, that makes sense.
Totally not the opposite way around.
Also, totally not the fact that she became enslaved by BDO.
Look, I was enslaved by the Black Spirit long before this started. But, other than just the interviews often being at really hard times, so I've been unable to keep a good sleep cycle with them, I have a lot of stuff going on IRL, and it makes it hard for me to make time for these. So yeah, I don't plan on being totally absent. You can see me in a few videos that'll be coming up, and I'll be part of the tabletop project, as well as many streams. If you know, I host D&D every Tuesday on twitch.tv/Arlyeon. And I'm also very active in the Discord, so, you know, if you like me, you can find me there.
So basically, she's not dead, she's just hibernating.
Yeah, she's got this weird thing where she's awake in the daytime. I don't really get it, but I guess it's a vampire thing, like she says, so that makes sense a bit.
Reverse vampire? She sparkles in the day or something?
Oh, gross!
Lastly, we have recently started up a coffee. You might be familiar with that. It is a adorable little thing akin to Patreon.
Coffee.
Yes, that. There will be a link to it in the description to this, as well as just sort of like a little address on the end of this interview, but it's essentially a way of us seeking out some degree of crowdfunding just so we can actually make sure that the editors get paid. I'm not super bothered about getting paid myself, but it would really help to actually get some income for Shrimp, for one of our new editors, Videre, and we have the 2 people working on the tabletop thing, and just more or less being able to supplement people's income better means we can focus on releasing stuff more frequently and of a higher quality. It also means I can cover the costs of art stuff, music stuff, and hardware.
And of course, sort of a newer thing we had decided on was taking questions a bit from the audience. If there's an interview scheduled, I believe Arlyeon was gonna post it up in our Discord for you guys to throw in your questions as well.
Yeah, we were gonna see about occasionally releasing coffee breaks and trying to touch base with you guys just to see if you had any feedback on the channel. And yeah, there was going to be something set for the Discord, just so you guys could sort of weigh in on questions to be asked or things to be covered, either whether it be a game or a dev you really wanted to see something talked with. And yes, I got a whole bunch of questions for the Dwarf Fortress guy. I am aware there's a lot of people who want to hear more about him. I reached out. I can do no more right now unless he actually gets back to me. So give that some time, please. Anyways,
Like, comment, and subscribe. Also join the Discord because we love new people there.
also, Lovi, I think she's been waiting so long to say that again. But yeah, seriously.
Also, don't forget to check up Arlie on Twitch.
Yeah, sure. You can harass me more when I'm very bad at indie games or during tabletop. In the meantime, I hope you folks are well and do take care. We'll catch you on the next podcast or episode of Crit Hit.